Am I audible to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Now we have to discuss the second phase or the extensions of the literature review session. And last day, you remember that we discussed some basic concepts about the literature review. And I told you that briefly the research process, what we are doing usually in the research project, preparations of proposal, collection data and information and analyzing, reporting. This is the basic process, main three process steps of the process. And where we are now at the first phase, preparations of proposal. So for that, we are learning about the research methods. And under the methods, so we discuss the introductory definitions and what is research, how to do, etc., and the purpose of research, etc. Our first session. Second sessions, I want to emphasize you about the literature and the purpose of literature, what is literature, etc. So today the second session once again for the same thing about literature and literature review, etc. It is a wide area. It is wide area as it is very important for the beginning of the research. In order to begin the research project, you must have a research problem. So research problem is identification of research problem is a process, having a tentative title, selecting a particular area, and then you have to read. So even to have a tentative or provisional title, you must have some literature, reading and understand about the subjects or subject area or interested area. Therefore, even though the research project is started having a research problem, so of course, practically we have to start our work, the research work, or whatever the education processes, having enough literature. So reading literature. Literature is the first thing that you have to start reading literature. I think you already started to collect and review literature, reading literature. So through that you can improve your research methodology, session understanding of research methodology, of course. And so I told you that literature generally is about written. It is about written. All the written works. So that is a formal definition, conventional general definition. Literature is in general all written works, especially the textbooks, whatever the kind of books, the normal literature. Are in connection with the research. Literature refers the special collection of scholarly works, which should be a recognized form of literature, particularly from academic journals and academic special textbooks and conference proceedings, etc. So you have to read, having a focus, having a special attention about a specific topic. So that is about literature in research. And there are different modes you know, but I just mentioned about the modes: publish, unpublish, printed, unprinted, art, digital, scientific, non-scientific, research-based, non-research-based, recognized, non-recognized, etc. So we emphasize or we request you to go through recognized and research-based, scientific literature, scientific sources, no matter either hard or digital forms. So when you are using digital, so you have to be very careful. So you have to be scientific way of digitals we have to identify. So what form of digital documents, digital informations. So you have to be very carefully select digital information or literature. It is convenience. Sometimes if it is free, it is very easy. However, in hard forms or modes, we have to go library or bookshops, or we have to borrow books, or we have to have our own library. So in terms of textbooks, very expensive, and finding articles, journals, of course, is very difficult. It's not easy, but you have lending library. You can use the lending library. So you have to understand. And publish, unpublished means there are a lot of unpublished literature. So even though they are publicly available, that doesn't mean published. Sometimes a lot of websites, lot of publications are freely available literature, or sometimes research articles, sometimes some books, or sometimes documentaries. They are freely available, but they are not highly recognized scientific form of publications, even though they are freely or publicly available online. So therefore, once it is published, so some authority or even at least a person should get the responsibility for the publication. So if an organization or publisher or institutions or some people or person is responsible for the publication, and if the publication has a proper acknowledge and properly define the purpose, and so that is a recognized science-based, the scientific research-based, publish the mode of documents or the mode of literature. So you have to be very carefully select publish, even though it is freely available. That means that is not the publish. The publish, the printed to unprinted, hard or digital, scientific, research-based, recognized sources, so modes of literature. So we emphasize you to go through very carefully so these ideas and find scientific literature. And literature in different categories, theories, concepts, models, laws, etc. So in different subjects, different lecturers or different disciplines, you learn different theories and different concepts, different models. The law does not mean that simply the legislations, or law means some principles including law, right? Principles, and like in economic theories, some theories have been labeled or explained as law of demand, law of supply, likewise. So those kind of basic universal and tested and recognized theories. So you have to learn these things. So these are very important areas. So for your justification of your research problem, to identify related variables, to identify related populations, to justify your problem. So you must have relevant theories. So now that is the time to learn new. So what you have already learned about the theories under different disciplines, like in economics, what are the theories you have learned? In land economics, what theories you have learned? In valuation, what kind of theories you have learned? Sometimes they related with economics, they related with markets, they related with sometimes human relations, the etc. The satisfaction, the value, and planning, and urbanization, cities related theories, concepts, models. So you have to learn. So these are very, very important, the foundation work for your research projects. And data information, of course, are available probably in census and some reports like bank reports, annual reports, the ministries or the departments' annual reports. project reports, etc. There are a lot of data and information. And sometimes they are freely available. Sometimes you have to pay. So sometimes the public organization, they're receiving some systematic, authentic data about the countries or national level data sets. For instance, electioneers department. So they are having a lot of data regarding the elections, and through the election data, you can identify the populations, the families, and a lot of things. So not only the election related. So they are developed based on the elections, but the data is useful for other purposes as well. And census and statistics department. So there are various departments about the total populations and their variance, and the household surveys, etc. There are various types of the data and information are available. So some are free, but some are you have to pay and you have to purchase some reports. And data information based on research publications. So sometimes institutions like universities, research centers, and sometimes divisions of research and development divisions of companies and government or private or public agents organization, they may have research publications. Through research publication, you can identify, you can select, you can find the analyzed data, structured data. So they are probably not fresh data. They have already used for different purposes. So they are sometimes in form of tables, graphs, etc. So you can use such data for your research purpose. Philosophy doctrines, the way certain cultures, certain demographic the clusters, the people, how they have recognized different understanding, the philosophy, doctrines. Sometimes you can understand some religious perspectives, the Buddhism, Hinduism. So those are some doctrines. For generations to generations, such the understanding or such concepts have been evolved, so we can learn those things as well in case of some issues from problems. So news informations, so you know what news informations. So probably each article, scientific articles, and scientific journals, scientific magazines, periodicals. So there are a lot of news and information which are sometimes very high quality and scientific forms. And guidelines, directions, so they are probably available in institutions and projects, and sometimes provided by particular organizations for guidelines, directions. For instance, now in case of tourism, so there are various type of guidelines and informations given by certain institutions. Sri Lankan Tourist Development Authority provide some guidelines how Sri Lankan's society, how Sri Lankans travel, how different guidelines. So likewise directions. So for instance, now during COVID period, how the properties have been organized for the COVID patients, for the treatments, for different way of guidelines and directions to monitor the situation. So those are very important, how properties were organized, how properties were arranged to face that such particular situations. Likewise, for sometimes some security purpose, how organizations have direct the community. So directions, guidelines, those are some of literature or we can available. They are available some particular places. Law, rules, regulations. Likewise, there are various types of literature in different categories. You when you are searching literature, don't depend on single types. Don't depend only textbooks, only research articles, etc. So anyway, as per our understanding, and we request you to learn theories, concept, model as a basic tools to understanding the philosophies or to understanding the basics idea about the subjects or disciplines. So it is must. And data information, you must have qualitative or quantitative data and about the general understanding about your practical context. So you must have some data information. And research-based information are very, very important because they are probably research-based research publications teach you how to conduct research, what type of data you have to collect, etc. So therefore, this type of data help you to understand about the research. And so these are different sources from where you can find some such literature. So from books, journal articles, news bulletins, diagnosis report, etc. There are several sources. So maybe in library, if you go to the library, there are various sections, various divisions. So accordingly, you can identify the different sources. Books are arranged in different places under different themes. So even journals, you can see journal sections in libraries. And likewise, you can understand how libraries have been organized to classify the different sources of literature. So accordingly, you can identify where you have to, what type of literature you should use. So probably books includes theories, models, texts, etc. Theory, basic theory, definition so are included in books. Journal articles gives you updated new knowledge about research-based happenings. So research findings are included in research journals. So in order to understand, so what type of research have been done in your area, so you must treat literature available as journal articles. So they are refereed, indexed, and other forms of articles available. So we refer you to go through at least refereed and index articles are more recognized. And there are many more. So I explain these things. So in case of conference proceedings, so we recommend you to review or read all review full paper proceedings. So proceedings which have reviewed full papers. So we recommend such things because the quality of this literature is very high. And there are some abstract books, so knowledge is not completed, and even the experts' ideas may not be there because they are not reviewed. So those papers, full papers reviewed, and these are recommended for your research. Okay, this is what we discussed last day, and we could understand how you participated in the assignments as well, and I understood that you are able to search literature and identify relevant articles, etc. So I advise you to find local and overseas and the articles both, not to confine all overseas literature, not to confine only to local. You must have firstly the global situation, the overall situation, general situation, the universal situation, and then you have to make sure what is happening in the local context. If it is related to the local community, you must understand how the local community is, the situation. Therefore, you should have literature about the local context. Right. Can you see this diagram?
Yes.
Okay, this diagram tells you the summary of what we have taught you. So here you should know what are the key sources. So different sources, maybe textbooks, journals, like etc., etc. So textbooks are very important, as I mentioned. Textbooks includes theory. Now, if you want to know the basics economics, so urban economics, land economics, basic theories, concepts, definitions, you must read textbooks. And even though the research methods, you have to learn research methods. So you have to go through textbooks. And reading of literature, the other advantage you can understand is what are the major issues and debates about the topics. So in order to understand the major issues, major debates, so that means the problems, the currently interesting, currently trending, and timely needed issues, problems, happenings, incidences, motivations, needs and wants, etc. So you have to do a research about the today's situations. You have to contribute for the today's, for the current, and the local community, local industry, the current industry, local markets, local institutions, etc. Firstly. So therefore, you should clearly understand the major, not simple, not an ordinary one. So that major means the trending or the burning issues. So we have to address. So therefore, you first make sure what are the major issues, major debates, the key issues, burning issues, etc. in your vicinity, your institutions, where you're working, where you're living, that is in the village, in the cities, country, etc. So that doesn't mean that we can't do the global issues. That if some global issues now the communication is a global issue. Migration is a global happening, and education is a global happening. Now, some disease like now we experience the corona. So it's a global issue. Likewise, there are various things. Now, tourism is a global happening. So we have to understand. So therefore, you have to understand what does the local means. Sometimes some issues. Now, for instance, if you are handling with the paddy farmers issue, so it's probably the local. So it happens in Japan as well, but more the gravity of the problem, it feels for us. Therefore, we have to address how the local farmers, the paddy farmers, they face certain problems. Except likewise. Therefore, you have to understand what does local and global. However, mainly you have to understand burning issues, key issues to examine, to investigate. That is must. For that, you have to go through different literatures. One main one is research articles. Research articles, the updated, recent, recognized scientific research articles. Referred or index articles are better. So such articles, literature tells you who are interested of the similar research areas, where the problems, such similar problems are, and how far and how in what ways such research in such areas and such researchers have done or addressed. Now, traffic is an issue in Colombo. So what are the research done in other countries or even in Sri Lanka about traffic, the road accidents, etc. You can understand how many research and who are interested in which fields the similar research have been conducted. So maybe the planning disciplines, maybe engineering disciplines, maybe crime related researchers, different types of research, different type of researchers have done sometimes the same issue. So you can understand the different ways of addressing the same issue. So not only for valuation, not only to real estate students, the social sciences students, sometimes sociology students, sometimes criminology students, sometimes the planning students. So different disciplines try to understand the issues, certain issues. And what are the political standpoint? That political means any country, any society, any organizations. There are some power-related relationships. So in the market, it is not only economic aspects. There are certain political aspects. This doesn't mean that party politics, like our country's party politics, is not party. You know, organization, the culture, politics. So this is a very big, powerful incidents in connection with the issues, social issues, the politics, right? So we have to understand theoretically what and how it happens, what is happening, right? And again, about the problems, how the problems have been evolved, the trends, evolutions, how it has been organized, the origins started, etc. Sometimes some issues are evolving generation to generations, and sometimes the problems start in a country and it spreading towards the globe. So you have to identify, you have to understand origin of problems, and so theoretically and somehow you have to understand the origin and how the problems have been evolving or reshaping from time to time. So that is very important. Sorry. And again, what are the key theories, concepts, ideas, even definitions, etc. So you have to collect these things, you have to learn these things, right? Some are economic theories, some are social, some are the legal related, some are value related theory, some are markets related theory, the satisfaction, the price, different theories, the concepts. For instance, now in case of social classes, the low income, middle income, high income, luxury. So those are some concepts, different concepts. So the concepts have been evolved from decades ago. What is middle income? So now what is middle income? So in Sri Lanka, what is middle income? In India, what is middle income? So practically how it has been recognized, what are the definitions? So likewise, we have to identify certain concepts, right? So through reading textbooks, you can understand theories, concepts, ideas. And sometimes in research articles, researchers, the different scholars, they also have redefined some theories, develop some theories, so new theories. So developing new theories based on research, so which are very, very important. So if you go through research articles, you can understand how they had tested already, theorized concepts, and how the researchers have developed new theories. So therefore, textbooks is one, and research articles also useful to understand how theories have been used for their understanding and how new theories have been generated to develop some concepts. So likewise, so reading books and the journal articles, both will be helpful for this purpose. Okay, this one. What are the main question problems have been addressed? So in research methodology, we will teach you how to develop a proposal. So there you have to have a problem, research problem, and then having a problem, you have to develop research questions and objectives, etc. So when you're reading research papers, research articles, journal articles, you can understand what type of problems have been addressed by certain researchers, and how they have addressed these problems, their problems, having questions, so research questions, etc. So reading research article, you can understand main research questions that have been addressed so far by different researchers and different research problems investigated so far. So for this, you have to read journal articles. So therefore, you should understand literature review is a very complex, and you have to work hard. Maybe the biggest part of research project, and you have to start with literature, and you have to go through the literature during maybe the full period of your research project. And this helps to organize your research well, to understand the problems, to understand how others have done the area, so what are the gaps, etc. And concept theories, everything is very, very important. Right. Is this clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Right. Now, up to now, the last day, I noticed that you have collected few articles. It is very good. I'm very happy. And remember, hereafter, you have to collect various other types of literature as well. That is the message, right? Having read various types of research, you have to collect various types of literature. That is theory, concepts, and key and major debate areas, major topics, and how the political stance, how the economic, politic, and social stance of countries and the nations and your specific context, right? And how the certain problems have been origin and started, and how such things have been evolved, and different ways of defining, etc. and problems, questions, etc. Right? Likewise, so you have to collect various literature and various sources, and then you have a number of concepts, ideas, etc. with you, right? And once you collected and read all theories, definitions, data sets, your understanding is very wide. Your understanding is very wide. Your knowledge is very high. You know many things. You know about the local context. You know about the region. You know about the national context. You know about the countries and global, and you know about what has happened in past. You know what is happening now. You know what will be happening in tomorrow, etc. Your knowledge is very wide, right? So therefore, now you can think of various new things. So therefore, your simple reading, you have to make it as a better way of understanding through reviewing, right? Through reviewing. So it is said that literature review is a comprehensive summary and critical evaluation of existing scholarly work. So that means comprehensive summary means simply that pointing out is not simply the review. What review? So you can list out some ideas, and you can having said that 1, 2, 3. Likewise, you can list. So it doesn't mean that comprehensive. Comprehensive means you can summarize, but you can point it out, but you can do more than that. You have to evaluate. You have to analyze. You have to find some gaps, etc. Therefore, you have to do something more rather than reading and copying others' literature, others' information. So that is what we are supposed from you. You are supposed to do. So how we can learn this? This also can learn by reading how others have reviewed literature. So in literature reviewing research articles, they have done some work. They have they have made some efforts to find some new thing, gaps, having comprehensive understanding. So how the researchers have done. So accordingly, you have to practice it, right? Therefore, you have to learn how to review literature by reading journal articles. Through reading journal articles, you can adapt. You can learn how others have done, and accordingly, you have to do it. So therefore, you have to do a synthesizing the previous research. Synthesizing means you can make some orders, you can make some list, and you can compare, you can contrast, right? Etc. Certain exercises, right? For instance, now regarding the traffic accidents or regarding the automobile, regarding the accessibility, regarding the road networks. Likewise, you can identify a particular area in an urban area. So how different researchers have addressed, have addressed the similar issues in Sri Lanka, similar issues in India, similar issues in Europe, you can understand. Likewise, various knowledge you can collect, and accordingly you can understand, you can compare. Likewise, you can do some comprehensive way of understanding. So having synthesizing or analyzing and synthesizing. So what are the advantages? What are the advantages? So research can the understanding some context. Research can understanding new context or relevant context for new research. So having recognized the research done so far, so you can understand, realize the areas not has been done, right? So what are the areas have been done and what are the areas have not been done? So likewise, new areas, new research, right? New research. Suppose now somebody has recognized a particular trend. He may explain something has happened in this way, right? And the same thing somebody can double check if the research is done in Western countries, you can test the same thing in Sri Lanka. So it is new for Sri Lanka. The same thing you can test in Sri Lanka. So that is one way, one thing, right? For example, right? Likewise, so identification of gap in knowledge. So what is available in Europe? So whether it is available in Sri Lanka, whether it is the same in Sri Lanka, whether it's a different way of Sri Lanka. Likewise, you can think of. So that is one thing, right? One way. And demonstrate authors understand the field. So having analyzed, you can demonstrate your understanding about the certain area, right? For instance, the modern building materials. If anyone is interested to do a research in the building materials, you can understand how Sri Lankan applications of material, how understand of the construction field. In case of building material and building material cost, material quality, and standards of materials. So it depends on the interest of your research. So having reviewed literature, so you can demonstrate, you can show you understand. So those are the benefits and expected benefits of literature review. Therefore, it is not simple reading. It is a critical analysis and synthesizing them. And you have to organize it in a very systematic way. You have to use subheadings, subheadings, and you have to maintain a special flow. For instance, you have to discuss the global and then the regional and then country-wise and then particular context-wise. Likewise, there must have a particular the very organized way of presenting under different themes. So that's what we expect from the literature review, right? And ultimately, we expect that the researcher should build an argument about the happening, about the research problem. You have to scientifically, you have to theoretically, you have to rationally, you have to argue, you have to point out your research problem in a facts base, not an emotional way, right? So that's what we expect from the literature review. So it's not simply writing an article. It's not simply publishing a news article, newspaper, advertisement. So beyond that, the critical analysis and synthesizing expects or targets and organizing knowledge as an argument, as a debate, as a rationale. And it should be a great support, a big support for your research problem, to justify your research problem, right? So therefore, literature review is including just reading. You have to collect and read and then analyze, and you have to make it a very scholarly scientific summary. Summary means not just simple point form statements. You have to make a very clear understanding to your reader about your topic. And it should be a specific and very clear, very focused explanation with facts, not emotional, not personal, not subjective opinions, right? So you explain how the certain happening is theoretically. For instance, if you want to explain the high property price, so you use economic theories. If you want to explain the satisfaction of house, so you have to use a particular theory about the satisfactions or psychological things, the sentiments, etc., how those concepts have been theorized. For instance, Maslow's need theory, you can explain using the Maslow's need theory, need hierarchy. You can explain how the households, how the households are maintaining or happy about their available housing. So whether they are enjoying the house in a physical, in the basic way, in the second level, third level, higher level. Likewise, you can theorize it based on theories. So it is what we expect from literature review. And it should be, ultimately, we must have a report. That means a literature review chapter. You have to provide it in a chapter or the sections of your research proposal. Even an article, there must have research oriented or literature review paragraphs or area. So that helps to understand others, your knowledge, your arguments, right? So therefore, it should be a compiled report or a chapter in your thesis. In case of article, a section. In a proposal, it may be a separate section, right? So therefore, you have to understand how the literature review should be or can be presented in your report or in your article or in your thesis. So this is a particular definitions about literature review. And it is again the same thing, critical analysis of segments of published body of knowledge. Again, as I mentioned, it should be published. Published means that the scientific, research-based, recognized publications, published documents, maybe textbooks, maybe articles, whatever, should be published. That doesn't mean freely available online, right? And through summary, the classifications mean you can list out, you can organize, you can prioritize, you can do different classifications, maybe country-wise classifications, maybe organized-wise classifications. You can make your literature, your points in a very organized way. And you can do some comparisons, country-wise comparison, year-wise comparison, organized-wise comparison, Likewise, different comparison, right? How past, how present, how future, likewise, how the different organization A, organization B, organization, how these things, how male, female comparison. So likewise, comparison. The developed and undeveloped, Western and Eastern countries, right? Likewise, comparison of prior research studies. So mostly we expect that research studies are very important. So therefore, this comprehensive definition tells you what you have to do, right? Please go through this definition and understand your responsibility as a research students. So under this literature review. Do you have any question? How is your understanding? Am I passed?
No, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
The same thing, right? Right. Reading or reviewing literature, another advantage is, so it's about the specific topic, specific field. So you should understand it. If someone is interested to do an agriculture evaluation, so what your field is mainly the agriculture and valuation. In case of agriculture, you can select a particular field, but another subfield, there may be plantation. Under the plantation, maybe rubber plantation. Maybe under the rubber plantation in particular area. Likewise, you have to start in a broad and then you have to narrow it down to the handleable or the manageable or specific context. And then the topic, right? Likewise, you have to understand how you have to focus. So accordingly, literature review also. So this focus, the particular field, of course, will be justified through literature, right? And through the literature review, so reader can understand what has been said. So likewise, you can understand having read all, so what already has been done, right? Likewise, through reading your literature review, so reader can understand what you have been saying or what you are saying, what your statements. And of course, reading others, you can understand how others who have written about the area, right? So what has been done and who are the researchers, who are the writers, etc. And what are the related theories, hypotheses, questions, etc. So therefore, in your literature review, you should include relevant theories. The similar way others have been done. When you are reading others' research reports or research journal articles, you can understand how particular researchers used and prefer theories, concepts, etc. So similarly, you have to do it, right? So what questions means research questions. So what type of research questions have been addressed by other researchers? So you can understand reading others' research, others. So what questions? Similarly, you also should include rationally some questions. So having read your research, we can understand what type of research questions you are addressing. So same thing you have to do. And methods, methodologies. So when you're reading others' research, you can understand what type of methods they have used. Whether they have done research in quantitative methods, using quantitative methods or qualitative methods or mixed methods, etc. You can understand. Accordingly, you also should organize your work in a suitable way. So therefore, when you're reading your article, you're reading your proposal, your research thesis, so reader can understand what methods, what methodologies you have adopted. The same thing you have to do. Right. Particularly, you should remember that the focus and focus on a specific problem is very important. So I, from the beginning, emphasize you to make your study should be, you have to have a very focus and specific way of addressing is very important. You can't do and have research if you don't will understand about the particular context. So, for instance, land price. If you want to address to learn or do research about the land price, so it is a very broad idea, land price. So, if you are thinking about the land price in Colombo, so again, geographically it has been limited. Therefore, it is kind of specific way of addressing. However, land price in Colombo again is a big one. The broad concepts. Right, land price for residential purpose, again you can make it more specific. Likewise, you have to make the address, you have to address a specific problem or specific issue or debate, right? And through literature, you have to understand it, how others have make it specific. You have to start in a broad context, and slowly, gradually, step by step, you have to come to a specific, the very focused problem issue. And you have to understand the theory, methodologies, practical aspects, etc., in your research, in your literature review. And finally, you have to provide an analytical and critical review. You have to start in this way. You have to collect literature from textbooks, from articles and databases, etc., from various sources. And sorting means you have to organize in a particular way. For instance, if you have information or data from different contexts, maybe you have research articles which explain a research conducted in Delhi, and another research, it is about the same situation, similar things in Colombo. And similarly, you have 5 or 6 or more research in different contexts. So you have to sort it out. You have to organize it in a way, how different countries, how different the cities, how different. Likewise, you have to sort it, right? That's the first thing. And the key facts, from the key facts, what are the main facts? Likewise, you can have your own way of organizing the literature. So it is your own way. So how you can learn these things? By reading how others have done it. So other researchers, the research done so far, the experts have followed the same thing. Even myself, I do the same. I collect and read and note it down and make it some organizing, right? That is sorting and recording, copying key facts, etc. So the second. Thirdly, we have to utilize the facts and information. So we collect and identify the key facts and use. So use, of course, is not just simply copying, reporting. So what probably our students or researchers are doing, just simply reporting, not using literature. For instance, if you can identify somebody's research and he or she has mentioned some facts, you simply copy in that in your research paper or in your thesis. You may say that so and so have identified 5 facts or 6 these facts. So 1, 2, 3, you pointed out simply the certain facts. That is not using. That is not using. You are not using. You have to, if you include certain facts from others, you should say why you are using, why you are including certain facts. right? That is called using. That is called using. I will show some example. That is called using, right? So having using or having utilizing the facts, that means you can tell something to other means you are arguing, you are analyzing the context. In order to analyze certain issue or certain problem, you should use how others have already addressed the issue. So in case of the use of building materials, new materials, you can say these are the available materials. These are the advantages and disadvantages of new materials. So these materials are scientifically developed. Likewise, you give some facts. So certain facts are from the existing literature. However, having said, simply pointing out benefits and the pluses and minuses are not enough. Sometimes certain articles may provide only the positive facts. However, at the same time, some researchers may have pointed out negative facts. So your role is to compare how A has done, what A has done, what B has done. So what's your opinion according to A and B? Likewise, we have to compare, contrast, analyze. So through that, so by using the others, what you have to do is analyze the background of your research. If you want to analyze the local context, you can analyze the background. So that is called literature review. So it is developing a discussion. It is developing a discussion like a judge. What the judge in a court is doing, judge listening to different parts, different parties, different people giving different facts. So judge is listening. Having listened, judge gives some statements. So the statement is not his personal opinion, not his the emotional opinion, it is not a subjective opinion. He used different ideas, facts, and different theory or law and social phenomena, etc. A lot of things he used as a base of his opinion. So likewise, researcher should use different opinions, different data, different statistics, different happenings, and accordingly, he can or she can analyze the background and develop a discussion and recognize suitable methods, approaches, justifications, etc. So therefore, throughout the research proposal development, so you have to use different views, different facts, different data, and develop a background analysis and develop discussion and identify methods, approaches, justifications, etc., and relevant variables and recognize necessary definitions, concepts, etc. So all these things are the part of the within the literature review efforts. So literature review helps you to do everything, right? That's why it is said that literature review is a very broad, huge work. Once you do literature review very well, your understanding is very, very high. Your understanding about the problem is very high. Your understanding about the data and methods and different approaches is very high, right? Then you can write a proposal very well. And having understanding, having analyzed the background itself is a new knowledge. Because having analyzed the background and having developed a discussion and recognized new methods, etc., you can provide new knowledge. It's also new knowledge. You are adding new knowledge. For instance, suppose few studies have provided some facts. Study A provides 2 facts. Study B provides 5 facts. Study B 6 provides. So three studies in the same area provide different facts. So, however, you feel that even though the available research or researchers have pointed out certain facts, still some unknown areas in the field. For instance, now in case of health areas, health situation, still some medicines are not adequately available for some disease. For instance, the cancer, kidney patients, they don't have enough medicines because the gap is there. Likewise, so you can understand certain gaps having analyzed the existing literature, even in your field. So there are some advantages, particular advantage, the purpose of literature review. So the main advantage of the literature review or reading literature and analyzing literature is you can understand a particular study area. So what is the area that you are interested? What is the area interested for research? So as real estate students, what type of problem should be addressed? So you can understand through literature review. That means that to know the study area, you should treat. If anyone is interested about land market, so your knowledge may not be adequate. You should be knowledgeable about the land market, right? Therefore, in order to know the land market, you have to read. You have to read articles, you have to read textbooks, you have to go through the databases, you have to go through the project reports, etc. And through reading, you can understand by whom and when and how the research has the area has been developed, right? So this knowledge is very important in order to explain the background of your research problem. And through reading, you can understand the gaps. Gaps mean the problems to be addressed and problem which has not yet been addressed. The problems which has addressed in an adequate way, insufficient knowledge, right? Insufficient knowledge. So identify gaps. So that means researchable problem in the area. Collect facts. So different facts, for instance, so facts or the reasons for different issues. Now, for instance, if you're interested to analyze, the maximum, the highest and best use of the office space, government office space. So if you are interested to analyze the highest and best use of office space, so you have to know the different facts. So what are the office, what are the area available, by whom the properties are used, etc. So in order to justify the problem, right? For that you have to collect data, available properties, available areas, etc. So for that you have to read. So that means you have to justify the gaps. So gaps should be justified. You have to provide statistics. You have to provide the prevailing the already done research. So otherwise you can't justify, right? Justify is you can reasonably point out that this is researchable. This is important for the community. This is important for the markets, etc. That is justification. So simply having said you are going to do a research on a particular theme is not justification. If you want to do a research on a particular theme, you should show to whom it is interested, to whom it is beneficial, to whom it is important, why the problem is important. Likewise, you have to justify it. So that is called developing a rationale, and developing an argument, forbid an argument, and recognize significance, right? If anyone want to do a research about university education, the problem related to university education, you have to justify. You have to justify through a rationale, through an argument, and pointing out its significance, how it is important, why it is important, to whom it is important, right? For that, you have to have facts, information, data, right? And identify you should identify variables. Variables means the related, the incidents. So what facts related with the incidents, the variables, right? And even the limitations. For instance, the factors affecting if you want to analyze the factors affecting the condominium demand. So you have to explain, you have to understand what are the factors. So factors mean the variables, what type of variables, right? So likewise, in order to understand the variables, you have to read, right? So through reading only you can understand the available variables, maybe hundreds of variables or thousands of variables. So you can understand through reading, right? And methods, techniques, tools, related methods, related techniques, related tools. For technique means data collection techniques, data analysis techniques, data collection tools, data collection, etc. Right? So what are the methods? Qualitative method, quantitative method, and mixed methods. So appropriate methods, approaches, techniques for your research. So you can understand through reading. So how other researchers have, so what others researchers have used, how other researchers have used particular methods, etc. What are the variables other researchers have used? So you can understand, right? Similarly, you can organize your research. What type of techniques? What are the methods they have adapted for sample selections? How they have selected particular populations, etc. All the methods, right? Academic writing styles, how you should write a title, right? So how you write an introduction, how you use the headings, subheadings, how you develop tables, figures, how you incorporate, how you include them into text, etc. The written language, jargon words, how the writing, the flow, introduction, the body of the discussion and conclusions, how effectively organize the what particular language, writing style, what is the tense you should use, whether it is past tense, future tense, whether it is simple, passive voice or active voice. So everything you should learn and you should adapt. So according to the writing style, the academic writing style is a particular style. So you have to adapt, you have to develop that skill to write research proposal, research thesis, and research articles, etc. So there's a special writing style, words, and how do you use citation in the mid and reference list, etc. How it is format, what the format, particular format, etc. So writing style. So you can learn these things through literature. And the overall quality of your research report, your research articles, your proposals is very, very important. It should be readable and easy to understand. The readers should be easy to understand, and it should be very organized, well-organized way, and it should be in a accepted quality and international quality. So you have to learn and improve your writing style as well as the quality of writing and report, right, especially academic research. These are not professional research or the empirical, even though they're empirical, they are not the consultancy way of decoding documents. These are academic research for examination purpose. You have to understand how the quality of the research reports or research dissertation or thesis for the examination purpose, right? You have to improve that quality, style. And finally, we expect that research students should disseminate or provide new knowledge for the industry, for the organization, for the future researchers, for students, for practitioners. You should provide new knowledge. So you have to disseminate it in a different ways, maybe different publications or presented papers in debates in areas that particular dialogues in, or you have to go to the media, you have to address communities. So different ways of dissemination. So you have to learn. So through literature review, you can understand different ways of disseminating knowledge, new findings. Did you understand these things? The advantages, the purpose of literature review? If you don't know these purpose, your reading, the analysis, your efforts on literature review is in vain. Ultimately, you have to achieve. You have to make sure that you fulfill the purpose, right? At least these many more purpose, right? Clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. And you have to be very careful on some aspects, like you have to be you should make sure the relevant literature. So that means you have to address the specific issue. You have to address a specific issue. So in order to make it is specific, narrow defined, you have to use relevant literature. Relevant means if you are addressing land price issues related with urban housing. So again, which urban housing? Maybe a condominium. So maybe a detached housing. Likewise, you have to make it very specific. And if it is related with the last 5 decades, you have to use the literature related to the last 5 decades. And if it is related to the middle income, so you have to use literature related to middle income, right? Likewise, the highly relevant literature. So, the literature or the research article, whatever you use, better to select highly related, focused, relevant, similar areas. The mostly updated literature means recently published, addressing the latest situations, latest happenings, procedures, occurrences, the shapes of issues. So that is mostly updated. In case of data, you should obtain recent data, recent publications, maybe within last 5 years, not the 10 years. If you analyze the 10 years, better use 10-year data. If you analyze the current situation, don't go earlier, don't go more old data like around 2000, or some are using early to 2000. The census and statistics, the data, probably people use the statistic during 2012-11 data. So those are very old, maybe 10, 20 years old data, 10, 20 years old literature. These are of course not useful to understand the current ongoing situation, present situation, because the society and the markets, technology, these are fastly moving, changing, rapidly changing. Therefore, you have to use updated, relevant, complete set of data. An adequate literature means you have to cover the local, global, all the areas. And suppose if you want to address the housing issue in urban, middle income, public employees. So there are various aspects. You have to address the urban literature, urban related. You have to address the middle income related. You have to address the area of public workers, young generation. So you have to cover all the areas. Simply the middle income is not what you are going to do. You are addressing urban housing in middle income, in public sector. Likewise, you have to cover all relevant aspects, right? Understood it? Clear? Covering all areas means that in your title, there may have different concepts, right? Likewise, you have to address or read to cover the whole areas. So you have to trace, you have to understand, you have to identify what exactly the literature stated, right? So therefore, you have to read 2 or 3 times what the particular author or writer has interpreted that written, right? So you have to understand very well and properly acknowledge. So if you can borrow or if you can obtain statements, the research findings, tables, figures from others, and you have to acknowledge. You can't use the others' knowledge as your knowledge. So acknowledgement for the others is very, very important. It is essential, right? So we can learn how to acknowledge. When you're reading research journals, you can understand so how the paper writers have addressed the acknowledge. For instance, in the mid, they have written within bracket some authors' names and year of publications. That is called citing. And at the end of articles, at the end of textbooks, there's a list of reference. What type of articles, what type of textbooks or websites have been utilized. So likewise, proper acknowledgement. You have to properly acknowledge it. So we teach you how to do this. Utilizing the literature is very, very important. You have to utilize it, use in a correct place, correct purposes, and need to analyze rather than reporting. You have to analyze it. You have to synthesize, analyze, and you have to get use of rather than simply reporting, telling. You are telling something what some others have done. So that is not what we expect. Just listing out the finding of research is not we expect. So you have to use what others have been done, how others have been done, why they have done this, whether it is strong, whether it is not strong, whether it is relevant, not. Likewise, you have to critique, you have to analyze, you have to challenge, you have to argue, right? So in order to argue, you have to use another information, not your opinions alone, right? Right. So these are very, very important. You have to go through this list and you have to make sure to maintain your work according to these guidelines, right? Clear? Is it clear for you?
Yes.
Clear. Okay.
Yes.
Therefore, why those guidelines are very important? So you have to make sure your work on literature review, reporting instead of reviewing. So a lot of people do just reporting. So how Mr. So-and-so has done his research, or how Mr. So-and-so has, so what Mr. So-and-so has pointed out, likewise listing. So that is what we expect. We don't expect that. That is called lack of or no analysis. We have to analyze it, right? So don't give list of findings, list of concepts. So that is not enough, right? You have to make sure that you analyze the others' information, the information's data, literature available. You have to analyze. So through analysis, you develop some discussion, you develop some argument, you provide some rationale, right? So that is what your responsibility, you expect, your task. So you can learn how others have done it, and accordingly you have to practice it. And if you provide unnecessary data, old data, and that is not what we expect, right? And very old, stale news and old, so years and years old, maybe a few decades old statistics, literature, research findings, unnecessary, right? So please avoid. So irrelevant information. And missing information means you are not addressing all areas. For instance, if you want to address the similar example, what I told you, the housing issue in urban areas, in middle-income families, engage in public employments. So various concepts. Middle income is one, urban area, urban context is one, and public employment is one. Likewise, you have to completely discuss the area. So otherwise it is lacking, the missing information. So don't do that. You have to cover every aspects. Overloading information. So you have to provide the manageable, adequate only. Unnecessary load is not enough because it is in vain. So using unnecessary amount of data statistics, so you have to manage it. It's a manageable amount. Be careful, right? So you can justify having an adequate amount, reasonable amount of facts, right? So derailing means, so you start something and you end with something else. You're talking about, or you want to analyze about the irrigation issues. Irrigation issues in an area, the irrigation, the issues related with irrigation or the water for agriculture in Anuradhapura. Sometimes you are starting a research point like that, and however you end with other matters. So at the end, you are not talking about the irrigation. You are talking about the housing issue sometimes. So likewise, you have to maintain the focus. And especially the focus, you have to start in a wide area, the broad area, universal, general, and slowly you have to go to the very specific, narrowly defined, precise idea. So that is very, very important. So throughout your journey, research, discussion, you have to maintain that focus. So when we start reading through the first chapter, so we can understand what you are going to do. And when we go through the final conclusion chapter, so we can understand that you have concluded with the same thing. That is the focus, right? And this is very dangerous, plagiarism. As I mentioned earlier, the citations or the referencing or acknowledging to others' knowledge, data, information, the facts, the maps, etc. You have to be very carefully cite or provide reference. Otherwise, it is said that plagiarizing, the using others' information without acknowledging. So that is called, you are stealing others' knowledge, others' the rights or other properties. So that is called the intellectual properties, right? So that is ethically and legally and socially banned. It is not recognized as a good practice. So therefore, you have to be very careful how to avoid from plagiarism, how to minimize supplies, right? So we probably use technological tool, the scientific tool to check your the authenticity of your statements, the data you provide. So you have to make sure that you do it genuinely. So there are methods to avoid this stealing or illegal or unethical things. You have to be very careful. Learn these things, what plagiarism is and how you can avoid the genuine, authentic work. And also, this is very important, local and universal context, as I'm always talking about, you have to start in universal, the global, general way. And ultimately, you should make sure the local satisfaction. You have to do research, you have to do, you have to contribute for the local. But having confined to the local, it is not easy. You should know what the world is, what is happening in the world. So accordingly, you have to address the local situation. So you have to make sure local and global. So you have to understand what local, what universal, right? And general and specific, the same thing. Looking at something in general, and looking at something in specific. You have to understand how your work is organized in general way and specific way. We at the end expect the specific findings for the specific problems, investigating, analyzing, looking into a specific context. However, specific context from general context. For general market, you have to identify specific problems. General society, you have to identify specific problem. Likewise, right? General to specific, the same thing, right? In different way. And broader and narrow. So broader ideas, broader examinations, broader definitions, and narrowly defined. So you have to narrowly define, right? So these things are very important ideas that you have to be very carefully deal with this one. Ultimately, you have to show that you are addressing the local issue, your increase in local knowledge, you are reduce the local gaps, you are providing solutions for the local problems, you are supporting for the well-being of the local community, and through specific context, through specific problems, narrow defined context, narrow defined problems, etc. Right? Clear?
Yes.
Okay. So better to have a small break, 10 minutes break.
Okay.
So yeah, have a cup of tea, or you can move and come back by now it is 10:42, 10:55, 5 to 11, right?
Okay.
5 to 11. Okay. Can you see the slide? Hello? 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 Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now we can start, right? And please tell others to come and join soon. Only 9 students are there, so please. And can you see the slide?
Yes, sir, we can see.
Okay, you can see, right? It is about an article. So in the title of the article is Impact of Bias Demography on Property Purchasing. Now this is a journal article. So name of the journal information are there. You can see the journal article information, publication information. The title is here. And the authors, 3 authors, their name is there and affiliations are also there. So these are informations that are useful for you to make the citations and reference to acknowledge for the authors, right? You should know how you should properly acknowledge to the authors. So these information is very, very important in case of journals, journal articles. The name of the journal, the article's name, author's name, the affiliations, and the journal information, these one, and year of publications are very, very important. And the title here just about the impact of bias demography on property purchasing, somewhat clear, right? The impact of demography, bias demography, buyer who has bought it, right? And their demography means demographic informations, age, civil status, various type of demography. So you should know what demography is. Therefore, how the demography of bias demography, the effects or impact of these on property purchase, that is research problem. The problem is the important area. He is going to investigate. These particular authors or researchers have investigated on this particular area. And 2 key concepts, bias demography and property purchasing. Those are the key areas. When you are reading, if you are interested the same, you have to focus these 2 areas mainly. If you're talking about the property purchasing, that is not adequate. We have to adequately discuss the demography. So what demography is? So demography related theory, concepts, definitions, you have to learn through literature. You have to read textbooks, what does demography means, how the demography variables has been defined in general, and what specific, and what specifically about purchasing, the property purchase. Likewise, you have to read and how others have done similar research. Accordingly, you can understand how these particular researchers have used the demographic related definitions and variables, etc. Right? If you are interested to do the same or similar areas in Sri Lanka, right? Right. One thing that this research title does not include that area. So it is better. Here I have given a note here. It is better to include the research context. Can you read the what I have given that my opinion? My comment, can you see my comment given? Huh?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what is the comment given to the title? Tell me. Hello?
It says
Better to include the research concept.
All right, that is the my comment. So it is better. It is not compulsory. If the context is included, the reader can easily understand, right? In which context, in which field, to whom the resource or the find is will directly provide benefit, and where the particular problem is available or with whom the data has been collected, what particular the community or socio-political background, right? The shape of the problem can easily be recognized for the reader if the topic is included, the context, real context. It is better, right? So you remember to make it more specific. So you can show it in a very specific way, right? And if you go through the abstract, now abstract of this particular article, it's a very short abstract. So abstract sometimes in very short, sometimes it's larger than this. It depends on the guidelines of the particular journal, right? So it starts with demographic criteria usually relate with the person's characteristics. So that is how that particular authors have defined it. Remember, in an abstracts, it is not required to provide the citations. Therefore, we don't include citations. So that is why within bracket, you can't see nothing, right? It is a special, the practice. We don't include any reference into the abstract, in abstracts, right? So demographic criteria usually relate to the person's characteristics. The statement is simple or broad, the universal definitions, general definitions. So that is why, that is what I am talking about. We have to start in a general way, in a universal way, in general statement, in broader context, we can start. That's how we have to start it. These particular authors have started in a general, broader, universal, common facts. So it is the general, it is demographic criteria usually relate to the person's characteristics, right? Is it clear? It is clear?
yes.
You go through the step by step how these authors have developed this statement in an abstract. So they measure people's affordability and capability, which could be at various level. So another statement. So the second statement, slowly improve or slowly move to a particular context of this study, and it connects with that first statement. Second one, they means person characteristics. They measures people's affordability and capability, which could be at various levels, right? In addition, different demographics contribute differently to buyer's choice in life. So likewise, he slowly defines, the author slowly or step by step provides more related facts and improving some dialogues, improving some rationale for the study. Study means impact of bias demography on purchasing. You can understand how they have developed it slowly, step by step, right? Within the small, this small paragraph, right? So, and this one, in addition, different demographic contribute differently, right. Then they are talking or mentioning impact of bias demography, right? Having a small introduction, background information, they are talking about the issue, problem. Impact of bias demography on property purchasing using chi-square test. Now, the studies, they are going to measure the impact. So having said that background, they are pointing out their issue, their problem. This study, what they are doing through this study examine the impact of bias demography on purchasing, in property purchasing using chi-square test. What does the chi-square test mean? The methodology, data analysis method. So he's going to they have analyzed data using this tool, right? And next, they are talking about questionnaire survey. Questionnaire survey was used to for collecting primary data in the state of this place, right? This is a particular area. This is about the population from where they have collected data. So they have collected primary data. Now you can understand what type of data they have used. They are primary data, not the secondary data. The data collection was done within this area, the population, and the data collection tool is the questionnaire survey. So a lot of information from the section, the paragraph, they are providing a lot of information about the research. You can understand who have done the research, on what they have done, and how they have done, and where they have done. You can learn a lot, right? And next, then they are talking about the outcomes. Outcome shows that the finding of the research. Outcome shows likewise they explain the outcomes. Likewise, the small paragraph in this abstracts, this particular authors explain the full story, what they have done and how they have done, and why they have done, and what benefits they are providing. Understood? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Likewise, you have to read carefully and remember that every articles or whatever the documents or literature may not be very clear. We can't expect always the very clear, straightforward documents. So, however, for an example, this one, to a certain extent, so you can understand, to a great extent, you can understand, I can, as I mentioned through my explanation, that everything they have provided very clearly. So accordingly, through reading, you can understand what you should do in your research journey, right? And next thing right, introduction. So this is the format of articles, so not the research proposals. Anyway, I just wanted to emphasize you to learn methodological concepts, the concepts under methodology. Right, introduction. Selling a house becomes one of the activities that would encourage property development in any country. So what does this mean? So again, they are starting with the general, universal, wider statement. So selling a house becomes one of the activities that would encourage property development in any country. Or they are providing a justification, or they are providing a broader, wider, a general context. That is the starting. That is how they started, right? So they simply started so that anyone can understand what they are doing. So if if they provide very specific narrowly, something narrowly, that may not be comfortable for reader. So that's why we need to have the rationale start, the general start. So we can slowly make a focus, right? The second sentence, in Malaysia, and they have come to the specific context. Now they are doing their research in Malaysia. So now they are secondly, they are coming to the Malaysia. In Malaysia, likewise, they are focused, they are developing the focus. Now this one, even though the significant factors come from market perspective, what they are doing. So they have discussed here something in bit after Malaysia, after stating the Malaysia, the background, having discussed this background, so authors have identified certain gap. Even though the significant factors come from the marketplaces, developers should identify the structure and the criteria of the demography for residents around the area concerns. Now they are suggesting something new, which is very important for developers. That is a kind of gap. That is a kind of the context they are going to investigate, which is very important for developers, right? It is about the demographic characteristics and it impacts on the purchasing. So which is they are going to investigate. Understood? Understood?
Yes, sir.
Right. Then the lastly in this paragraph, they are telling this is because demography becomes the suitable aspect in measuring the property development. So this is not their statement. They have obtained, borrowed, copied from another article. So it is from Swam, the author. This researcher has published something in 1995. So they have quoted the author's name, the surname and year of publication as a citation. So acknowledging within the text. So these particular authors have acknowledged to this statement. The statement is the facts to generalize their problem. Facts to generalize or for their rationale. Understood how they have rationalized their research problem? Understood? Tell me quickly.
Yes, sir.
Likewise, we have to understand how others have organized their the debates, so the discussion, the analysis, background analysis. So simply they are not providing something as a research problem. So they explain something, the background, and having the background, they are pointing out a particular context, specific context as to be investigated for the investigation. And again, they provide some the facts to make more rational way, right? So one is enough here for as an article, as an for an article, but there must have more other supportive, the supportive facts should be provided, right? So further more about this, like literature review. Again, I would say that these authors have provided specific context under literature review. So about the problem and methods, everything they are providing the analysis, a detailed analysis using available literature about the context. Demography as a part of population. Again, the same writer, the quotation refers to number of households in a family, and this particular part of the sentence from these authors and refers to number of households from these authors. Likewise, a number of studies, number of literature, the journals have been referred. These authors have referred number of articles to make this small statement. to provide the small statement, these authors have referred 3 articles, and very strongly they are developing this statement. Demography as a part of population refers to the number of households in one family. So simple idea, but it is not an emotionally personally provided based on others' opinions, others' findings, right? Understood how that literature development, literature analysis is done? Slowly from wider context to specific context with the help of others' opinions, how the authors, how the researchers should develop literature review. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Then next one, this is started in a key concepts. Now they are defining key concepts. Key concepts as provided in the title, right? Demography is the key concept. Now they are introducing or defining the first concept, demography. And the second one, the population. It involves population calculation. It involves population calculation, and based on some other support, right? These authors support. They are developing a statement, rationale. It means the demography. It involves population calculations, right? So this what they're doing is merging the first concept with the related other concepts. Now, in a title, in a research project, so you want to emphasize 2, 3, or 4 more than one or two concepts. However, you have to merge, you have to synthesize, analyze, compare your ideas, views in a systematic way. So that way you have to develop the argument or statements. So merging the first concept with other related concepts, that's what they are doing. It involves population calculation, which would affect the overall real estate market. So various population calculations, maybe count, maybe family sizes, maybe different population related count calculations probably would affect the overall real estate markets. So the authors slowly developing a statement or discussion how they are referring concepts like demography relates with the property market, right? Can you understand how they are developing it? So you have to understand how literature is used to make a statement, make a discussion, the very step by step, very focused area, right? So demography usually, again, and maintain the link. Now they want to link the first paragraph. They have to keep ongoing link, the flow, right? Otherwise, the first idea will be isolated. So that is not what we expect. We have to maintain the proper link, the step-by-step development of the statement, right? So demography usually relates to property purchasing activities. Now they are connecting to the second the idea, the concepts, having linked with the first paragraph, right? So that is what you have to do. You have to learn how others have done. So the way of academic writing style, you have to learn. And how the citations, how the acknowledgement is done, you have to learn, right? And third one, furthermore about the demography aspect, demographic change would normally presented by certain criteria. Now they are going to further analyze what demography and its related things. So this is about researchers provide facts from literature. Researcher one by one, the researcher providing facts, different facts to make a strong dialogue, strong discussion, right? So in addition, further, he is developing his statement further and further. Therefore, why he is talking about therefore? So up to now, So providing this point and providing further point and providing additional points. So they are developing some arguments. And based on the argument, now research is stating, therefore, based on these development, therefore, economists and policymakers have observed. Still, he is talking about others' views, and based on this one, he is pointing out how others have looking into the matter. Therefore, economists and policymakers have observed that demographic criteria, namely age, distribution, gender, marital status, the qualification, occupation, marital status, number of households. Now he has unpacked what demography is. He has gradually understood what demography is by looking into economists and policymakers' studies, through how economists and policymakers have looked into or explained demographic criteria. Still, he is not pointing, the authors are not pointing their views. They are taking the views from others, right? However, he has a counter argument. He is pointing some different ideas, and this team of writers pointing out different ideas. However, now they are pointing out another researcher's idea. This is, of course, they are using my article. RA1 is myself. These authors have used my article, and RA1 observed that all these demographic criteria do not really influence housing market and property processing activities. So in my article, I have done something like that. So I have discussed something, but I don't remember it. But these particular authors have gone through my article, and they have identified what I have done. I have stated to their study. They use different opinions provided by me for their idea, right? Therefore, based on all these arguments and counter arguments and different opinions, finally at the last page, they are pointing out this one is probably by these authors. Therefore, it is so important for researchers to identify the definitions and functions of each demographic criteria which have relations to the housing market. Can you understand slowly how they have developed an argument based on the others' facts? Can you understand?
Yes, sir.
Huh? Do you have any opinions? Anything further from your side? Have you read similar articles? Have you identified the way how others have done this one? Have you recognized the literature earlier like this? Have you read literature with this type of meaning, this way of understanding? So is my teaching provide something new to you? Am I improving your reading and analytical skills?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Tell me whether you can reading and you can engage literature in a different way hereafter. So that is my
Yes.
expectations. That is what I expect. My motive. So hereafter you have to read in a meaningful that is a different activity. So that's a different. That is the literature reading, literature review by a researcher, not an public or not an ordinary person, right? So likewise, you have to carefully read how other researchers, particular researchers, have utilized the available the literature to develop a discussion or a rationale or an argument, right? And to show the importance of this particular research, their research. Likewise, you have to train, you have to practice, and you develop the skill, collecting relevant literature and reading and understand how they clearly stated what they have really wanted to say and trace it, and you can take the notes from these articles, and then you have to analyze as per your requirements, according to the way that others have done, the similar way that you have to do it, right? And now here they have understood number of demographic criteria. So accordingly, they have step by step, slowly, they can, having headings and subheadings, they can categorize, they can describe one by one. For instance, age, right? It's a subheading or sub area under demographic criteria. Likewise, they are describing about age. And another one, ethnic group or race, another one. So the marital status and household size, employment. So further discussion about the main demographic criteria taken for this particular study, right? Methodology. So they describe methodology. So accordingly, you can understand how these particular researchers, who are they and what they have done and how they have done, what methodologies, tools, techniques they have adopted. So what is the population they have selected, how the sampling methods, what the sample size, etc., etc. You go through and understand, right? So structured survey questionnaire. They have used structured survey questionnaire. So you should know what the structured survey questionnaire. So we'll teach you and you can understand, right? So accordingly, you can understand the problem and the way they have addressed and what are the suitable appropriate methods, what type of data they have collected, according to the data, what are the tools and techniques they have adopted, right? So everything you can learn through reading. Many things you can learn through reading research articles. New knowledge also you can. So population size, 100 respondents, that is the sample size, and random sample technique. The sampling technique is random, and chi-square test analysis method. So likewise, you can obtain several information about the methodology. The figure 1, they have included the figure, which is the conceptual framework. So having read many literature, so you can go through what the literature they have cited here. So that means you have read number of literature, the literature from different sources, maybe article sources, different sources like articles, textbooks, etc., etc. They have read a lot, and having read, they have identified the different variables, the relevant variables, and using different variables, they have analyzed demography, the aspects, the impact of demography on the property, the housing, what is that they are investigating the impact of bias demography on property purchasing, right? So the researchers have examined the impact of demographic criteria on property market or property criteria. So demography in terms of these sub variables, the main variable that is independent, this is dependent variable based on the changes of this one. So what happens? This property criteria, the purchasing criteria, what criteria they are looking into, all right? The buyers are looking into certain criteria. So certain criteria are decided based on demographic criteria. As per the age, how the sizes, as per the number of population, what the size, likewise, right? Age, race, marital status, these are the set of demographic criteria they have selected. They have selected based on the others, based on their rationale, right? Based on literature, based on the similar research, they have certain arguments. So you can go through the article and look, learn how they have rationalized to select these set of variables. Why they are not using another set of variables. Why have they limited only to these, right? So everything should be in a rational way, not an emotional way, right? And then the property criteria, property attributes. So what are the attributes? House price, house types, house finishing. Those are some property attributes, and property views, exterior, interior, likewise views, the appearance, different features, right? These are markets, these are likewise, and surrounding neighborhoods. So these are main sub variables under property criteria, right? So very systematically, they have recognized very specific context to investigate the specific set of demographic variable and their impact on very selected, narrow defined, related, very important the aspects of the variables. How these things will be or change or are changed or subject to change based on the changes of this one. So that's their argument, that's their study, investigation. So this is very important for marketers or developers. So the markets in that particular country, and those who read like you can understand the way that they have organized a particular study. And these variables may be the same in this context. If it is very suitable, you can acknowledge them and you can use the same conceptual framework for your study. But only thing you have to acknowledge, right? This one has been developed by these authors, they have not acknowledged because it is developed by them. If this one is used for your research, you have to acknowledge. Understood? Clear?
Yes, sir. Clear.
Okay, right. Similarly, databases, literature, textbooks, whatever you are reading, you keep in mind that same knowledge, same thing that you have to learn. So now this is what they have done, and they have included the analysis part, significance of housing attributes for housing features. Likewise, you can go through and try to understand the whole thing. So likewise, heading and subheadings, under subheadings, they have, right, this one, the overall results. Researchers discuss based on the findings, which also can be used as facts for your study. So these one, the findings of these researchers, so you can use these as new knowledge, the available literature. So these are available literature. These are the new knowledge provided by this particular group of researchers. So their contribution. So they have improved the existing knowledge. So you can use these are available knowledge for your research. So different data sets they use to analyze, different methods they have adapted, and the presentations of data and findings, different ways, different tools, and conclusions. So this paper highlights. So that's the general findings. Again, the findings also first in general, overall, then step by step specific. Generally, they are telling that this paper highlighted that all demographic aspects have their own impact to influence the buyers in purchasing. Likewise, the general state. However, specific findings. However, gender, marital status, employment are very important elements that should be likewise the specific findings. Suppose you have a similar or somewhat similar some other research. So this group has identified this one, and suppose in India or in Sri Lanka, for instance, my research, if you go through my one, I may have identified something else. Then what you have to do is, according to this research, you can say in Malaysian study, so gender, marital status, and so, these are more important. However, in Colombo, another researcher has identified some others are important. So likewise, you can identify two or more different researchers have different opinions based on their studies. And what you can do is, you can compare, contrast and prioritize this and identify some gaps. But that is what you have to do, right? Finally, they are doing their argument, their opinion, right? The researcher's opinion. Therefore, any changes that relates to these, like they provide their opinions. That is the conclusion. That is the conclusion. And finally, the list of reference, right? List of reference. They are I will show you what that citation and reference different between citation and reference. Here, the how RE answer. This is my one, right? So this is the way that you have to cite in the text. So this is called citing, no citations. In the text, you have to give the details of the sources like author's name, the author's surname, within bracket the publication, the year of publications, right? So at the end, you have to provide the full details of the publication. Sorry. The list should be provided in an alphabetical order, right? So we will teach you, but yeah, when you are reading, you have to understand these styles, academic writing styles, right? Reference and style. So they have used my surname and the year of publication. Here the full details, year, initial, and some style, and an empirical study of consumer behavior in housing market in Colombo, built environment, Sri Lanka, volume 8, issue 1. So likewise, publisher detail, journal and its detail. Likewise, there are many more that they should provide the page numbers as well, but they have not provided some details, but minimum at least these details. So through this, you can understand, you can identify the source of the document, source documents. So that is the purpose of providing the full details. So likewise, you have to be very careful in reading so then you can find relevant and full details, facts, data, research findings, etc., and you can learn academic writing styles, etc. And you can learn how the review of literature and where the literature should be included at the beginning, at the mid, and at the end, etc. Right? So you can learn a lot. So therefore, reading and reviewing literature is very, very important. Very, very important. I will show you one more thing that someone wanted to send me something. Okay. Can you see this one? A new slide?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is what you have to do, right? So try to adapt to this tool and you can improve your literature review very systematically. This is about the literature review using synthesizing metrics. So you have to use a tool, right? A tool. Tool means a particular method, application. So it helps you to improve your literature review and analysis process, right? It says that you can read this one. I will send you. You better read this one. And it says that, so to begin, you have to know that when writing literature review and how you to do it and how you to start and how to process it and ultimately what benefits and how you should be benefited, right? And you better read this yourself and I will show you what you have to do. You better develop a small chart or metric like this. And suppose you have a particular idea to do a research, right? Particular idea to do a research and a table like this, having a table like this, you can organize, you can collect the various facts for different views from different sources. Suppose you read 4 articles or few articles and textbooks, different sources, source 1, source 2, source 3, 4 likewise. And you have to know some idea about how, suppose you want to know about mid-income or land value. You want to know how others have explained, understood, defined land value. So having kept this idea, you read this one, this one, this one. And suppose source A, somebody has defined land value, so you can write it here. And author 2, you can write here. Likewise, several authors have defined the land value and you know number of definitions. Based on several definitions, variables, facts, your knowledge is very high. You have a sound knowledge about this concept. And concept B, idea C likewise. So all the areas, concepts, you can understand through different experts' ideas. And you can collect literature, different views, ideas to this small metric. Can you develop this type of table or a metric? It is possible, right? So here there's an example. I'll show you one example. Suppose this particular research, in a particular research, they wanted to do a research about women in World War II. In World War II, the role of women, right? So there may be related with women's role, women's something about women during the World War II, right? That is what they have, what these particular researchers have done, right? So under this particular theme topic, so they have here we can get two main points. An example one, the one concept, the alterations of woman role, alterations of woman role or changes of woman's role because of the war, right? Because of this particular war, how the woman role has been changed, right? Alterations. That is one thing that this particular researchers wanted to know. And second thing, they wanted to know hardship and opportunities, oppositions women faced, the issues and problems that women might have faced. These are the woman role, the changes of woman role, and these are the issues faced by women during the World War II. So these are the main areas these researchers might have done. Did you understand about this metric example? Did you understand? Is it clear to you?
Yes.
My example?
Yes.
Clear? If anyone wants to explain me again, I will explain because this is very important. this is the better or the good tool that you can use. There are many other ways, but this is very good, very clear. Should I explain it more? Suppose a particular research ideas like this, like early example, demographic aspects on housing buy or the property purchasing. Likewise, here the woman in World War II, right? Woman in World War II. However, they are going to analyze woman role and the problem faced by women during World War II. So we have to understand like this, right? Yes, somebody is asking, please explain, right? I will explain again. So here the research topic is not fully mentioned. The essence, the main idea about this research is about something about women during the World War II. So we can understand what they have planned to do, plan to examine the alterations of woman role and the problem faced by the woman. So accordingly, we can understand the problem. The problem is the alterations of role of woman and the problem during World War II. That's what they have planned to. They have already examined, right? So based on that research problem, they have searched literature and they organize the literature in this matrix. And so this is one source, a particular author they have read, and this is another author they have read, another author they have read, likewise. So this author or the article has explained some different ideas about the woman role, and this author might have different ideas about the woman role. So these are the ideas, and these are the ideas given by this one, Burley, and given this different ideas about woman role by Scott. So likewise, 4 authors, 4 literature pointed out different views, different ideas about the woman role during World War II. Clear? I think clear. Right? For instance, woman accredited something like this program for opening new book, new doors, challenging something challenges. So like that's what they have, what this particular author has quoted or status under the woman role, and it is in this particular page, right? In this particular page. Likewise, in page number 16, another idea. Woman could compete with men, right? As equal in the sky because of their exemplary performance. Sky means I think they might have worked as in a fleet, right? In a fleet, maybe in a battle, right? So they have they could compete with men, right? Compete with men equally. That's their role, right? Women might have to change their role during the war. So that's what this particular author has pointed out. Likewise, this author has pointed out very specific ideas, 4 specific ideas in different pages in this article. So these researchers have identified particular ideas from this author and some ideas from this author and some ideas from this author. Likewise, clear? And about women, about the challenges faced by women, some ideas from the same author, some ideas from this author, some ideas from this author, likewise, right? So different ideas about different concepts from different authors have been collected and included into this metric. So this is a recording system. This is a recording system. It's a small tool. Now, having collected different views in a systematic way through this metric, I will show how you can use it. I'll show how you can use it. And many ideas you can collect through this, and you can start the writing, right? Writing So once you collect it, then writing means you can analyze and you can review, you can make a development, you can develop a statement, argument, discussion, background analysis using the literature, right? For instance, here one word I here just quoted, this one. So this Burley is an author. This particular researchers have referred. Burley has mentioned women given unskilled labor positions by government because only seen as temporary workers. Therefore, no reasons to train them. So this researcher, the Burley, has stated that at the government of that country or area, having identified woman has not particular the responsibility as they are temporary workers, they should not train. Women should not be trained. So therefore, it is a challenge for them. It is an issue for them, right? It is an issue or challenge faced by women because they have not been given. The training was not given for women because women have been taken as temporary workers, temporary employees, right? So that's what that particular researcher had explained, right? So having read this particular author, these authors have quoted this one, right? We'll see how that facts can be included into the discussion. Women were often not trained. Women were often not trained because they were viewed as temporary employees who were only there for the duration of the war. During the war, the women have been recruited as temporary employees. Therefore, they have not given training. So this idea was taken by this Burley. So it is mentioned in this particular page or pages, and they have quoted it as an important facts for their discussion in the mid of this the paragraph, right? And having said that, they are taking another step. Women were very rarely given equal pay as men. So they are continuing their statement or discussion. They have mentioned that training thing, then the payment. Women were very rarely given equal pay as men, even though some of them did the same work. So likewise, likewise, having taken literature from different authors, you can develop a particular statement, particular rationale, particular background of the related to your research problem. So I just explain main point of this activity, this tool. I will send you this. You can go through carefully, step by step, the statement paragraph, and you can understand this one, right? You can understand and try to understand and adapt the same mechanism tool for your work. I think it helps you to organize your literature review to do in a meaningful way, right? So, do you have any question or clarification? Question or clarification? Clear? So go through this one, it is clear, right? So I just explain briefly, you can understand once you clear. Somebody is telling that it is clear. Okay, thanks. Now, likewise, you can You can use textbooks, articles, and a lot of sources are there. So accordingly, you can collect literature and learn about the main, what is called major issues, major areas first, and main theories, concepts, and philosophical views about the research methodology, and what main question problems already addressed by different researchers, etc. And you can gather everything to a matrix or table as I show you. So then your knowledge will be very high, and then you can organize the writing of your literature, the background analysis about the research problem, and you can slowly improve your work. And literature review is heavy work, and you have to do it in a systematic way, patiently and meaningfully. I think the information, the facts I gave help you to work in a proper way. Slowly you can improve. And what the purpose is, you have already selected the provisional title, and you have particular interested areas also. You are, depending on your knowledge or your future interest, maybe valuation, maybe planning, maybe markets, maybe regulations, whatever the area, the tentative title, and select literature and try to collect almost relevant to all the areas like textbooks. Textbooks is very essential to know the concepts and especially the theories and many things, and articles, databases, research reports, etc. And try to understand more clearly about the research problem that you guess. Firstly, you may have a particular guess, special guess, you have or general guess, and you have to make it more specific, having read and understood what already have done or what that available knowledge, try to identify the gap, and having identified different gaps or various gaps, you can organize this study in a very specific way, because you will be aware, aware about the destination, about the population sample, etc., and suitable methods, etc. Based on all knowledge, you can fine-tune the title. Fine-tune the title is you will realize straight away, or very clearly or very narrowly define context to investigate. For instance, the impact of demographic variables on housing market, the purchasing housing or characteristics of houses, likewise, very straightforward, very precise. So you have to read and understand. That problem should be from your local community, special community, the local markets, local industry, etc. So likewise, you have to improve your literature review skill and try to identify problem, so that you can start your research journey now on, right? So and next day I will explain you further more about literature, and up to now you are aware how to start the literature review. So next time we will meet physically. I'm very happy about the first activity, the level of you done the first activity. So similarly, you can do the second activity, maybe the same set of articles and some more articles. You try to develop a metric, right? A particular metric, and then you can start your work in a very smart way. So we can check whether you have read well and developed the metric, right? So I will check and I will give marks for the next day. So please, everyone should prepare the metric according to the interested area and collect more articles and textbooks, etc. and more sources, not 2 or 3 sources. I won't read everything in the classroom. I just check how far you have done it. You can continue and I will come in for the development. Right? Understood? So with that exercise, I will extend the next steps of literature review. So if you don't, if you won't do that, it is not easy for us to go to the next level. So remember, we have to develop literature and theoretical review, the conceptual framework at the end. So in order to develop the conceptual framework, we have to complete this level, right? So come with that metric and then I will help you for the next level. Okay, then now it's 12, 12 we can, 12 noon. So we can stay a few minutes more. If you have questions or if you have any idea, I will stay with you for a few minutes. So it is better if you can learn about some theories, right? So I will explain more. In next time, I'm going to discuss with you theory, like theories, models, etc. that helps you to understand more about your research problem. If you don't have a question or if you don't have any ideas from you, I will stop it. This is very important, right? This is very important for you. And the metric that I show you is very important. Ranjana, if you can contact me through WhatsApp, I can send you the reading, the additional reading.
Sure, sir. I will put your message now.
Now itself, right? Sure. So
Yes.
it is very easy and quick. Okay, then if you don't have questions or if you don't have anything from me, I will stop. Okay then. Huh? So next
Okay.
week we have a physical session. So please develop a ration. Please develop a metric using at least 5-10 articles or sources of literature. So I don't need complete one, but you can improve it to a great extent. You can slowly develop it if you have started it, right? Okay then, thanks so much. See you next
Yes, sir.
week.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, all the
Okay,
very
thank you
best.
very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.